The world will end eventually. This is not a grand proclamation or revelation, it's a fact. However, whether the world ends in 1 trillion years or by 2050 is up to us. Hi, I'm Isabelle Sykes, and I'm here to talk to you today about how humanity's evolution has led to climate change. What is evolution exactly? Evolution is how a species arises, adapts to its environment, and ultimately goes extinct. In other words, it's a species' story, their birth, their life, and their death. In order to understand how we as a species have affected our climate, we must understand the beginning of our story. Little is known about our true origin, whether we came from God or apes or something else entirely. There are even still some different theories as to our earliest ancestors, the Homo erectus. One theory suggests that the Homo erectus appeared in Africa and spread throughout the world millions of years ago, and in 250,000 years ago began evolving into ancient humans. What scientists do know is that there are actually 15 to 20 different species of humans, many of whom left no descendants and ultimately resulted in Homo sapiens being the only ones left on Earth. Humanity evolved quickly, as scientists have found evidence of stone tools from as early as 3.3 million years ago. Neanderthals were painting on cave walls 65,000 years ago. Fires were started 40,000 to 30,000 years ago. The wheel was invented in 3500 BC, the calendar in 45 BC, the clock in 725 AD, just to name a few of humanity's earliest greatest hits. Then, in the 18th century, Britain launched us into the modern era with the start of the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution was essential for humanity's progression, but it was not without its environmental setbacks. It was able to start because coal was found in Britain. Coal, and later other fossil fuels, became essential parts for all machines. Through the inventing of the machines, the energy needed to run them, and the fossil fuels they emit, thus began our environment's decline. Fossil fuels, or greenhouse gases, such as carbon dioxide, methane, nitrous oxide, water vapor, all clog our atmosphere, not allowing warm air to escape and warming our globe as a whole. Now, climate change is a debated topic. Many people do not believe it exists, or that it will eventually just go away. So here are some facts. The world has warmed by 1.62 degrees in the past century. Greenland is an average of 281 billion tons of ice per year, and Antarctica is an average of 199 billion tons of ice per year. The sea levels have risen by 8 inches in the past century. However, the rate at which they rise doubles every year. The amount of CO2 absorbed by the upper layer of the ocean increases by 2 billion each year. And the acidity of the ocean has risen by 30% since the start of the Industrial Revolution. This has caused 2/3 of the Great Barrier Reef to be affected by coral bleaching. So what does this mean exactly? It means that the weather across the globe is more extreme. Now that could mean extreme heat or extreme cold. In some areas, the average rainfall has actually increased, like in the UK, where London is sinking because of this. In other areas, like in California, the average rainfall has decreased, as seen by the tragic and record-breaking wildfires they had this past fall due to arid land. In the Northeast, heavy downpours and more heat waves are to be expected, and rising sea levels will affect fisheries, agriculture, ecosystems. Temperatures will rise, as well as sea levels, and eventually the Arctic will lose all of its ice. Now that you're all sufficiently depressed, you may be wondering why I chose this topic. I've always been fascinated with climate change, ever since my mom, who loves disaster movies, showed me Day After Tomorrow. My family and I have watched a volcano destroy a town, the world flood in 2012, and the San Andreas Fault go off. I was entranced by these movies, but a little concerned with the science that was made to be exaggerated and grab your attention didn't seem all that fantastical. Not to mention the multiple once-in-a-lifetime storms that have happened during my lifetime. I met up with a friend of mine who lives in San Francisco this winter, and she told me about the snow days she had this fall. These wildfires that affected California also affected other areas, for example, San Francisco, caused dangerously unhealthy conditions that burned the lungs and the eyes with the smoke. But by far, the worst thing she told me was, usually when a school has a snow day, or a day off is typically something to celebrate. But all I could really think about when we had our smoke day were the affected families. There's a boy in my grade whose house burned down in flames. When hearing things like that, it's not hard to feel a little overwhelmed with the problem of climate change. How can we fix nature? By breaking it down and fixing what we can. There are two types of solutions: mitigation, which goal is to reduce the level of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, and adaptation, which goal is to reduce our vulnerability to the effects of climate change. Scientists and governments are coming up with extraordinary ways to solve the problem of climate change. Though oil is still necessary for the transportation of goods and people, and coal still provides 30% of the energy in the US, scientists are coming up with multiple different forms of energy, including power from the sun, wind, and even power from waves. There's a city in Indonesia that is using plastic water bottles as their bus tickets, thereby encouraging transportation, or reduce public transportation, which reduces fossil fuel emissions, and encouraging recycling. They're not the only city that's doing this, and governments are not the only ones that are changing. Many scientists are coming up with extraordinary inventions to help fix climate change. An inventor named Novisani created an underwater pipe that blows cold water onto reefs, cooling them down to prevent coral bleaching. A Canadian company called Carbon Engineering has created a machine that takes CO2 emissions from the air and recycles them as energy. Their direct air capture technology has taken 1 billion tons of CO2 emissions from the air and used it as energy, the equivalent of 250,000 cars' emissions. Many people do not realize it, but meat is actually a big factor in climate change. Farmers will clear large areas of land for their animals to graze, and animals like cows, sheep, and goats all produce methane, fossil fuel. To help fix this problem, scientists have created meat using the protein in peas. It will look, taste, and have the texture of meat, but without the environmental consequences. These are just a few of the extraordinary inventions people are coming up with to help with climate change. See, humanity, their evolution and their desire for innovation has led us to this point, but it will also lead us towards a cleaner and greener planet. This leads me back to my earlier question: how can we fix climate change? Us, regular people, who aren't brilliant scientists, amazing engineers, or politicians. I'm 16, a junior in high school. What can I do? This. I can talk to you. I can give you facts, some solutions, and how much more we have to do. Many people have told me, oh, you're the generation that's going to fix climate change. We're the generation. If you wait for my generation to grow up and fix the world, it'll be too late. The change starts now. You may not be a scientist or an engineer, but it's not hard to be an activist. You can put pressure on politicians, create legislation that reduces fossil fuel emissions, give funding towards finding solutions, and just spread awareness. It may be a cliche thing to say that even I can change the world, but I can make a change. And I hope I have made one here today by talking to you all. It is our evolution, our story, our job and responsibility to continue to provide happy beginnings to younger generations. Humanity's evolution is what led us to this point, but will also lead us towards a cleaner and greener planet. We have come an extraordinary long way from our beginnings as Homo erectus to evolve into highly intelligent creatures. But when that story of evolution ends, it's up to us. Climate change does not discriminate. It affects every person and every nation, no matter your backgrounds, beliefs, or the color of your skin. It cannot be clouded by messy politics or the separation of people. Instead, it should bring us all together with the collective goal of healing our world. Thank you.